You ever have a yarn that you really love, but the more meaningful it is to you, the less likely you actually are to use it? Because suddenly, it's not just yarn anymore. It's a memory, a gift. It's pressure. And so it just quietly lives in a drawer for 10 years. Hi, my name is Taylor, and today we are helping a viewer decide what she should make with a yarn that's been patiently waiting since 2015. Okay, before we start, I'm going to read the email I received from Leslie asking about what she should make with these two gorgeous skeins of yarn. Hello, Taylor. I love your videos. I've been stumped by two balls of wool that were given to me by my daughter back in 2015 when she visited Scotland. I'm stumped because, one, there's only one ball of each color. Number two, I live in Southern California and I don't need warm stuff to wear. And number three, I've just recently gotten better at knitting. Was pretty much only crocheting before. I'm knitting my first sweater now, but I feel comfortable in either medium. About the yarn. Number one, both are Aran weight. Number two, both are 100-gram skeins with 176 yards. Number three, both have flecks of yellow, gold, green undertones. Number four, the bluish one is 90% pure new wool plus 10% silk. The purplish one is pure new wool. Number five, both are kind of rough and scratchy. Both require hand washing. About me. Number one, I live in a warm climate, but I do go camping every month, so I'm sometimes out in cooler evening weather. Number two, I'm a size medium. Number three, I am 61 years young, no grandkids. For 10 years, I've been trying to figure out what to do with this yarn, and I'm sure my daughter has given up hope of ever seeing it worked up. I hope you can come up with some ideas. Photos are attached. And immediately, we have a problem. Not a bad problem, just a specific one. This is not a what can I make situation. This is a what should I not ruin this yarn with situation. Before we even touch pattern suggestions, this is how I would think about this yarn. Number one, what does this yarn want to be? This is rustic wool. And don't let the silk in the one skein fool you. It sounds like it's a little scratchy, it's sturdy, and it's going to have structure. This yarn wants something durable, intentional, and something that makes sense for what it is. It does not want to be a soft, drapey little summer situation sitting right up against your neck. That would be betrayal, both for the yarn and for Leslie. So what should this yarn be? Let's just clear the board a bit. No sweaters. You don't have the yardage, and Southern California. And trust me, I get it. Southern Nevada. It's a warm climate. It's really hard for yarn like that to be turned into a sweater in good faith. You just know how it's gonna go down. And no scarves. The yarn's too scratchy. And to be honest, this yarn deserves better than merely just being tolerated. And none of this, let me just use it up so I can be done with it kind of mentality. That is exactly how meaningful yarn becomes disappointing yarn. So what's the real constraint? You don't just have limited yarn. You have two different skeins, slightly different fiber content, and no margin for error. So the real question becomes, do we separate them or do we let them work together? And personally, I think they should be used together because separately they feel a little stranded, no pun intended. Together, they actually become something. Okay, so what role should this yarn play? And I think it's important to ask these kinds of questions because it puts a little intention behind your choice. Now, these yarns are not background yarns. This is not filler yarn. This is accent yarn. Feature yarn, which is exactly a great jumping off point to share exactly where the yarn came from, which is really quite charming. Okay, so with all that in mind, I pulled a handful of patterns, and I was very intentional here. This is not a here are 15 ideas, go wild sort of situation. There are specific directions that actually make sense for this yarn. And of course, this is all in my own opinion. If you are watching this and you have suggestions for Leslie and her gorgeous yarn, please drop them down in the comments. Option one, the fireside hat. That's not the name of a pattern, that's a vibe. She says she goes camping at least once a month. She needs a really cozy hat she can wear by the fireside. And so here are a few options that fit that vibe. I love the Yelka hat by Isabel Kramer. This is a perfect little number for two colors in a worsted weight yarn. It's a very simple design. Stockinette, a very basic, what looks like about a 1.5 to 2 inch brim. I think that's more like a 1.5 knit one, purl one brim. Little bits of colorway and a contrasting pom-pom. Now she has two balls of yarn that are 176 yards each, And I figure if you like this hat enough, you can knit it in alternating color hierarchies. You could have one be all over blue with the purple contrast and then flip it for the opposite. Just an option. The next one is the Mulm hat. This is by Lotta H. Lothgren, and I love this one for very same reasons as I loved Isabel's hat as well. This one is a pretty basic, I don't want to say basic, let's just say simple color work motif. But what I think is really cool about this is that this hat only requires on the high end 159 yards of yarn, which tells me that if she wanted to knit 2 versions of this hat to use up all of her yarn and to give her a little bit of a different vibe with each version, she can invert the colors within the hierarchy of the color work going on here. One could be all over the bluish teal color and the other could be all over the purple color with the other one contrasting in there. And I think that that's, I don't know, I feel like that's a really great way to get the most bang for your buck with hats like this, because it's two very different vibes when you're looking at the cream color hat that's being shown here in the sample and the brown. They're clearly the same pattern, but they have a little bit of a different vibe. And having 2 really comfy hats in the camping bag for Leslie is a great way to go. Or if she needs to have a spare for a friend that comes camping and forgets their hat. And the next one, because we're talking about a fireside hat here, is my own campgrounds hat pattern that you see here. And I'll pop a picture up as well. This is a pattern I designed a year and a half ago about now. I love this hat and I really loved knitting this hat. It's such a fun mosaic knitting pattern. And if you've never done mosaic knitting with 2 colors, which is what this is, it is so much fun. I'm telling you, you need to give it a shot. The only difference with this hat, as opposed to the Mulm hat and the Yelka hat, is that you probably couldn't make 2 of these with what Leslie has on hand, but you certainly could make one. One of these on the low end requires 200 yards of yarn, and that's for an adult medium, and on the high end, 250 yards of yarn. So you couldn't necessarily make an alternating, you know, like a twin, I guess. What could you call that? When you make a hat with alternating colors, same hat, flipping the colors around, it's like the alter ego. It's like an alter ego hat. You couldn't do that with this one, but you could with the Mulb and you could with the Yelka. But this one, I couldn't help it. It's a great camping hat, a great fireside hat. I mean, it's called the campgrounds hat. So that is what I love this for. These hats work great because you can use both skeins of yarn. The structure of the hat suits the yarn and it becomes something functional for those camping trips. This is not a fashion hat. This is a, it gets cold, I threw this on and now I'm fine hat. And honestly, that feels right. Option 2, mittens. Something like the Robinia mittens. This is one people tend to overlook, but mittens don't require a ton of yardage, benefit from sturdier wool, and don't sit right against your neck or forehead. So suddenly that slightly scratchy quality, not a problem. That is what I would call a low risk, high reward project. And if I'm being cheeky, I would absolutely insert here another shameless plug for my fire pit mitts. Worsted weight yarn, 2 sizes available. Great way to use this, Leslie, if you're watching. Okay, moving on. Option 3, a crochet cowl. Now, Leslie mentioned that she started with crochet, so I don't want to ignore that. Something like the Let It Snow cowl is a really nice option here because it uses 2 colors, it leans into skills she already has, and it uses up a meaningful amount of yarn. This is a very clean, straightforward way to get this yarn into something wearable. Okay, option 3B, or something I'm calling don't wear it at all. And this is part of option 3 because it's crochet. But what if the reason the yarn has been sitting for 10 years is because it's trying to be something wearable? And that's the problem. This is where something like the mosaic crochet square. This is where something like a mosaic crochet square comes in beautifully. Think a Celtic knot style square, using both of these yarns as the featured colors, and then you bring a third yarn from your stash, probably something a little bit more on the neutral side, same weight, and build that out into a pillow cover. Now this yarn isn't something that you're worried about wearing correctly. It's something that just exists beautifully in your space, and I can't help imagining that it becomes a pillow that you take with you on camping trips. Pop it on your camp chair, use it as a way to bolster a book, or your lumbar for lumbar support. I've been needing that more lately. I really truly think that I need different chairs. These chairs do nothing for my lumbar. So this pillow might actually be the right answer here. Option 4, I'm calling this the hybrid garment. Now, if she doesn't want a garment with these 2 skeins, and honestly, she can't have one with just these 2 skeins alone, these next patterns aren't asking these 2 skeins to do everything. We're simply giving them a role. Something like the King Salmon Sweater by Caitlin Hunter, or the Carla Slipover. You bring in a neutral base yarn, and it can be something relatively inexpensive. It doesn't have to be a showstopper or some kind of rustic yarn from the hills of some yonder locale. I imagine something like fisherman's wool would be fantastic as a neutral background in either of these garments, allowing these gorgeous skeins to work as the colorwork accents or the stripe contrast. And as it relates to the striping, you could actually alternate the blue and the purple one after the other, as long as that background stays really lovely and neutral. So now the yardage problem is solved, the scratch factor is minimized, and the meaningful yarn becomes the highlight in a much larger project. Notice how none of these options are trying to stretch the yarn into something it's not meant to be. We're not forcing it, we're placing it. This yarn has been sitting for 10 years, not because there weren't any ideas, but most likely because none of them felt right enough. So if you're sitting on yarn like this, something meaningful, something limited, something you don't want to mess up, just know, not choosing is the only guaranteed way that it never becomes anything. And I think after 10 years, Leslie's yarn is probably ready. Leslie, if you make something with this, we would all love to see it. Thank you for hanging out with me, guys. If you have yarn in a similar situation as Leslie, please send me an email at woolneedleshands@gmail.com. Let me know your yarn. Give me all of the information that I can use to help pick some options for you. And I would love to feature your yarn on a future episode of What Should I Make With This? In the meantime, if you're enjoying the content that you're seeing here on the Wool Needles Hands YouTube channel, don't forget to check out the Patreon. It is where I share additional content and background and conversations. We have great chat threads. We have a Year of Hats knit along going on over there right now. Check it out, see if it's right for you. It's a great way to support the channel. And if you are a yarn enthusiast and would love to check out Fiber for the People, which is my hand-dyed yarn business, I would love to have you take a look at fiberforthepeople.com. I am bringing back my flagship yarn, which is a regionally local sourced merino rambouillet yarn from Northern Nevada, milled in Wyoming and sold right here in Southern Nevada. Okay guys, thank you for hanging out with me. I will see you in the next one. Happy knitting, happy making, happy whatever it is that you're doing. Take care, be well, and I will see you soon. Bye.